How you would get her, you guys all know, just be a low jab if you're moving around. Okay, we start from this position. I'm going to come in with a back fist. The minute you get into the, feel this energy here, you usually line open here, then you just come back up again with a knee and then a headbutt. Okay, so the rhythm should sound something like this: 1, 2, 3, boom, and then come in with a headbutt. All I want you to do is hit with the inner elbow. Now, a little bit of body mechanics, just give a little bump with it. Okay, so what I want you to do, you load up from here. So when we hit it, boom, this is where it would go. Well, the minute the head is on its recoil out, that's when it catches to the elbow. Come back again to the head. Okay, so all I want you to do, he jabs, we take it to here, bam, then we just bam to here, headbutt, knee, or a takedown. To answer your question, how to get that energy, how to feel when to do what lock, is to go back to an energy drill. So one of our basic energy drills is headbutt. Okay, now you can name a lock. Any lock? Wrist lock, okay? Wrist lock's right here. Okay, somebody said downward elbow, it's a downward elbow lock. Okay? Someone said upward elbow, it's an upward elbow lock. So whatever lock you want to do from this position, you can get into it. All your locks are done out of headbutt. It's just a matter of feeling the energy. I can do everything on the left side. Exact same locks again. Okay, so when you feel the energy out of the headbutt, then when he punches you, you can just feel whatever lock feels good and do it. Hi, I'm Paul Vunak, and this video is about attributes. I'd like you to know right up front that this isn't going to be a technique video. If you're looking for techniques in Jeet Kune Do, I've got 6 tapes out. Go ahead and check those out. But this particular tape is about attributes, and attributes are about the way techniques are done. There are thousands of martial arts styles, and each style claims that they're the best. Everybody wants to know, as I travel around, what's better, Paul? Is Thai boxing better than Savate? Is trapping better than kicking? Is punches better than traps? That's not the mentality I'm looking for. It's that linear logic of the Western mind that keeps most martial artists complacent. What Bruce tried to do is he tried to break us out of that mold. He would say, we want to get to the roots of the problem. And the roots of the problem do not lie within technique. They do not lie within martial arts style. The roots of the problem lie within attributes. Attributes are qualities that make techniques work. A quality like speed, or power, or timing, or spatial relationship, or line familiarization. These are all of the qualities that if you put 2 people in a room, one person walks out, the other person gets carried out. The person that walked out had the superior mix of attributes. High school players dunk, high school players pass the ball, they dribble, they shoot, they set screens. College players, same thing. These are the techniques of the game. NBA, same thing. But why are there a few individuals that stand out, excel? Your Magic Johnsons, your Dominique Wilkins, your Michael Jordans. What makes these people different? They don't know any style of basketball that's better than any other style of basketball. It's not a hard style of basketball or a soft style or a circular style. It's just one thing. Their attributes happen to be a higher level. So this is the same thing with martial arts. Why people stand out in sports is the same reason for why they stand out in martial arts, because their attributes are a higher level. And this is what JKD is all about, the development of attributes. And attributes are the points that make every technique work, regardless if it's a tackle in football or a jump shot in basketball or whatever sport or art you're talking about. So this videotape is going to be about attributes. It's going to be about training. You're going to see techniques in it, but it's not there to teach you techniques. In fact, most of the things we'll be doing, you won't probably know what's going on. We'll be doing it pretty fast, and it's done at a higher level, because it's not here to show you the basic fundamentals. We're here to show you a mentality. If you can pick up this tape and check out the mentality, and if we can just raise your level of understanding of why somebody wins a street fight, and that is because of the superior mix of attributes. If we can just raise that level and give you a feeling through you watching the tape, this is my goal. I'll be a happy camper. So with this in mind, we're going to go to the gym, and the first attribute we're going to work is body mechanics. As I said before, the weapons bring out the body movement, particularly the blade. When you touch with a blade, in order to do damage, you have to slice with it. So it's not a hitting weapon as much as a slicing weapon. And in the process of this slicing, you're moving your body. It creates a necessity to twist, to turn. It brings out the body mechanics. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through what we call carenza, which is shadow boxing in the Philippines. They use any of the weapons that we have, single stick, double stick, knife. I'm going to use a long blade. I want you to keep in mind that every weapon we pick up brings out a little bit something different. The long blade brings out a lot of twisting, a lot of cross steps. I'm just going to go through a few motions. Just try to key in on what I'm doing, particularly the footwork. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the short blade. The short blade brings everything in tighter. If you took the same motions with the short blade as you did with the long one, you're going to lose the economy of motion. So what you have to do is keep everything in tighter. It brings out the cat-like movement. This is what we're working as body mechanics. Now remember, we're working body mechanics, and the body mechanics with a knife transpose itself to empty hands. Let's just take one technique. Mark, you give me a jab. I cut the bicep, I come to here, and I lapsao, or I hilang. If I go empty hands with this, it's the same thing. You hit the nerve on the bicep. So as soon as he jabs, boom, we're just taking out that nerve. If I follow up with that, boom, I'm to here, and that's my trap. Now if I change the grip with the knife, we go to this grip. When Mark jabs, we're just destroying the fist on contact. If I follow up with a shot, I can go fist, bicep. Now, when we go to the empty hands, the elbow we use in lieu of the knife, boom, straight to here and right back to the bicep again. So every motion you have with the knife, you have with the empty hand. The point is, if you work the knife, and if you move with the knife, then when you go to the empty hand, your movement is a little bit better, a little bit crisper. Now we turn to the single stick, and I want you to notice my body mechanics. They're a little bit different. When you have a stick in your hand, you're not working the fluidity quite as much as if you had a blade in your hand. But you are a little bit crispier. You're a little bit tighter. The motions are a little bit quicker. You're going to notice the speed come out a little more with the stick, and the smoothness come out a little bit more with the long blade. I'm going to move around a little bit. I'll start off slow, and just try to keep your eye on the movement. Now on round two, I'm going to slow it down, and I'm going to go over some of the different strikes that you use with the stick. And I want you to notice that because of the variety of strikes you have with the stick, each strike brings out a different type of body mechanic. For example, this is an abanico. If you notice my twisting, whereas this would be a redondo, and this is a different type of twisting. So if you just notice the long motions, then the tight motions, and each motion brings out something a little bit different. I'm just going to move around, try to key in on the motions. Good. Now in this round, I'm going to implement a little bit more footwork. I'm going to turn on the speed just a little bit. Keep an eye on the stick. Now our next attribute is going to be speed. Speed is something that everyone's interested in, but it's very elusive. There's so many different types of speed. You have perceptual speed, performance speed, initiation speed, alteration speed. Speed is a matter of the brain, and it's not a matter of the body so much. Speed is a way of thinking. So what we're going to do in the tape is we're going to just show you how we would train when we train speed. We're going to hit the focus gloves the way we normally would. But you're going to look at it and say, how am I going to get any faster watching this guy punch? And if you understand that speed is a question of the brain, then how you're going to get faster by watching somebody punch the focus gloves is going to be just the way they do it. The intensity, the way they wait, and then you build up, and then you finally explode. So if you understand that speed is a question of the brain, and it's a question of getting the signal from the brain to the muscle in a more efficient manner, then that's the first step in getting faster. Just the knowledge of knowing that it's up here and it's not here. So what you want to do is get used to shooting a lot of juice from the brain to the muscle. Just get used to just getting yourself pumped up until, boom, you can just explode into something, and then you sort of relax. And when you get that feeling started, that's your first step in getting quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few pointers on how to do that. Now here's one pointer. I want you to take any motion that you want to get quicker, and I want you to break it down into two parts. So for example, if you use a jab, we go from here all the way out and all the way back. That's the full motion. Now what we're going to do to get you quicker is just have you do half of that motion, from here to here, and then back. So you just work the first half of the motion. Then you work the second half of the motion on the retraction. I'm going to repeat all this in the gym for you again. The main concept that I want you to get is A, it's a question of the brain. It's a question of building an emotional climax there. And B, break all of your motions in half and just work half of the motion first. And if you understand that, you're on your way to getting a little bit faster. Okay, so let's go to the gym and I'll show you a few training techniques. We'll see what we can do with that. Now, the two concepts that we covered are, one, breaking any motion that you want to improve the speed on in half and working each separate half of that motion. And the second concept was taking the juice from the brain and sort of turning up that mental, emotional volume to where that juice, that signal from the brain to the muscles happens quicker and more efficiently. We're going to take one at a time. We'll start with breaking a motion in half. It's the first step to increasing your speed. So we're going to take a jab, for example. The jab starts here, goes from 0, 50 to 100 and then back. What you do is you work from 0 to 50 first for whatever amount of time you want. So you move around and you just work the first half of the jab. This motion will get you faster because if you take it and split it in half and work one half of the motion, you're going to be twice as fast. This is the first half of the jab. Then we take the second half. So you take it from 50 and just pull it back. So you're working the second half and you're working the first half. You do this with any strike you want to increase your speed on. Now, what the other concept is, taking the juice from the brain and putting it into the muscles in a more efficient manner. To do this, you want to be set a little bit longer than normal. Okay, Mark, let me borrow you. We're going to start with a kick. Now, when I say set longer than normal, I'm talking about you want to get yourself in a posture that you normally aren't. To use the focus gloves properly, we should both be up, moving around, jabbing, crossing, kicking, getting a variety of different strikes. But to just isolate the one attribute, speed, you don't want to do that. You want to get a little bit lower and get yourself in a little bit more of a mental set posture. So the strike is here. Here's the glove. I'm getting myself set and prepared. As I think in my brain, I'm counting to 10. When I reach 10 in my brain, this is the climax, so to speak. So when I'm about to kick, I'll burst at 10. Good. Now, Mark, let me pull you over here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to do the same thing with a jab. Just want you to notice that I'm waiting and I'm building emotion until I reach its pinnacle, and then I let it go. Normally you would never get set like this. You want to move around in a fight. This is just to work the initiation speed. Sometimes when you're here, just fake. Other times, put the whole motion in. Just remember one thing. The key to speed is increasing that signal from the brain to the muscle. All right, now the third attribute we're going to cover is strength. And like speed, there are different types of strength. The type of strength we're looking to get is what we call isometric strength. Like in Asano, when you touch him and lock up with his arms, chi saoing, it sort of feels like an iron band. It feels like you could do a chin-up on his arms. This is the sort of strength. Bruce had this type of strength. It's developed through isometrics. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the gym, and I'm going to discuss all the different types of strength with you and how to get the particular type of strength that's most conducive for what we do. In talking about strength, I want you to know that there are several different types of strength. You have power lifters. Power lifters are good at lifting a lot of weight from a static position. Then you have bodybuilders. Bodybuilders lift about 3/4 of their max over and over again. This is for the aesthetics. We're not interested in that at all. Then you have swimmers, you have wrestlers, you have gymnasts. All of these are different types of strength. Our definition of strength is to be able to move a body from point A to point B. What Bruce found out was the best way to do this was through isometrics. Isometric is a different type of strength. It develops what we call tendon strength. You're what I call a sleeper, which is a person that has an average build but is definitely above average in strength. So in developing isometric strength or tendon strength, we do this through a series of specialized drills. Basically, when you're moving the arm, you're pumping the blood flow into the muscle. This is developing muscular size. Not that there's anything wrong with muscular size, but when you're stopped, this is the isometric. When you're at the isometric position, this is where the pressure is at the joint. And the joint is where tendon connects muscle to bone. This is where isometrics kick in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a series of specialized drills that are formulated just to develop tendon strength. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a principle rather than going through the hundreds of thousands of exercises that you can do to develop the different muscles in your body. And the principle is this. Let's take bench press for example. If you're bench pressing 200 pounds and if you do it 10 times, the first 8 didn't do a whole heck of a lot. They got your blood pumped to the muscle. They'll maybe get you a little bit bigger. The last couple, right when you're at this point here, when you're closer to that isometric stage, the last couple of reps you do are what are going to get you real strong. So the principle of isometrics is very simple. You pick up at that 9 and 10 point on the bench press. So basically you do not move. So if you wanted to develop the same muscles that you were in a bench press, you would go up against a wall and you would push. And you're pushing here as hard as you can for a series of about 10 seconds. 10 seconds is all you need with isometrics. So the bottom line is this. Any exercise you want to develop or any muscle you want to develop, you just basically put yourself in the position to where you cannot move. Let's say, for example, you want to develop your jab. If you want to develop your jab, that's basically your tricep and your shoulder. You're going to get on the wall and you're going to push right here. Now, isometrics has one drawback, and that is you only strengthen the exact position that you're in. For example, if I'm doing a curl, my entire arm is getting strong from point A to point B. Whereas in isometric, it would be strong here, but then I'd have to do it here again, and then here again. So with an isometric posture, you'd always break it down into 3 sections. So let's say, for example, if I'm going to do a punch, let's say the Wing Chun punch, the Jek Chun Choi. If I start with my fist here, once again I would get on the wall and push close. Then I would hold it for about a 10 count in the middle, and then about a 10 count almost all the way locked out. Then I've covered all 3 positions. Now if you have a squat rack, you can turn this into an isometric rack by pulling your bar out. You put this bar at any position you want. We found out in trapping range, which is a range we like to specialize in, shoulder and forearm strength is very important. One very good exercise for the forearm, I'm just going to give you a few exercises, mainly I want you to get the principle, is you put this right at your own forearm level. Put your arm under it, and you're pulling up. You want to hold it for a count of 10. Once again, You want to work different angles. Now what we like to do is we would like to work what we call specificity, which is working the exact angle for the exact martial art technique. So what I'm going to do for that, Mark, let me borrow you. If you're interested in Wing Chun, let's say you want to develop your lop sao, which is the pulling hand, what you do is you get into a lop sao position. Then you just lock it out from here, and we both pull. And we're pulling as hard as we can from this position for about 10 seconds. Then we switch to the left, and we do the same thing. This is the lop sao. What you're working here is this forearm muscle. Now if you want to work your shoulders, Mark would get in this position, and I'm going to lift up and out, and you're working your forearms, or your shoulders. Now from this position, I switch it around where my forearms are down, and I'm working his shoulders, and he's going up. Now from this position, say you wanted to work the twisting muscle in the forearm for, let's say, a wrist lock, to have this type of strength. To be able, once again, our concept is to move a body. This is the most important thing. So from this position, we grab the forearms, locking out the elbows, and we're twisting as hard as we can. And we do the same thing on the left. These type of exercises don't get you real big. But once again, you're what I call a sleeper. You're a lot stronger than what you look. So once again, let's review the concept. Isometrics, you hold for 10 seconds. You work all three positions. And the bottom line is any particular exercise you want to do or any particular technique you want to do, you use your imagination to fix yourself in the fixed position, and then you hold it for a 10 count. I'm going to give you one more example. Let's just say the foot sweep. If this is a foot sweep, if I come into this position right here, and this is my sweep, this is the muscle I want to use. So for training, we would just lock it out here and hold it. This is now working the inner loin, which is the muscle for a foot sweep. So if you can just take these few examples I've given you and use your imagination, take those principles that you have and develop your own isometric strength. Our fourth attribute is reflexes. Reflexes is a type of speed, but it's not. And why I say that is the signal does not go through the brain. This is why it's reflexes. For example, if you touch a hot stove, you're going to pull away before the signal ever went to the brain to tell your muscle to pull away. So the concept of behind reflexes is that there is no psychic hindrance. You're not thinking. You're just moving. And the best way to just move without thinking is the weapons. The weapons bring out a type of reflexes that is unbelievable because there's an incentive there. If you miss, you get hit. So most of the reflexes that we develop are through the weapons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the gym, and we're going to show you some different ways to develop reflexes, once again, through the Filipino martial arts, through their weapons. As I was saying before, reflexes are a feeling, almost like the feeling of driving down the freeway doing 90 miles an hour, and then you come into the city and you slow down to 55, and that feeling is that you're crawling. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get that same feeling of moving fast. We're trying to get something that will turbocharge our movement. And that's what this stick does. It turbocharges your movement. It gets you to move faster, simply because the stick is moving faster than the empty hand could. So when we're training together, we have to respond to the stick. So what we're about to do now is a training drill. It's called Sombrada, and you're going to watch us respond to the speed of the stick. Good. Now, as I was saying before, the stick is moving faster than the hand can move. So therefore, if he's blocking the stick, he's got to move a little bit faster. So for example, when Mark gives me the number 1, what I'm doing is I'm coming in with a shot. He's got to block that. If he doesn't block it, it's going to sting. The minute he blocks that shot, that is creating a necessity for him to move a heck of a lot faster than he would normally. So that's the key. This stick is turbocharging the movement. Now, what I'm going to do this round is we're going to step it up a little bit. We've got the pads on, and this enables me to turn on my speed a little bit more. I can kick in the half beats. So I'm going to throw Darth Vader in here, and I'm going to put in my little half beat shots with the rear hand. I want you to keep an eye on when the inserts are coming in. Okay, Mark. Now, what that does is this keeps him honest. We stay flowing back and forth a little bit, and then every now and then I'm putting in that half beat. And that's what he's trying to do, is catch that half beat. And in the process of that catch, that's getting him a little bit faster, thanks to the use of this. Now, what I'm going to do this round is we're going to use the knife to illustrate the 2 points of reflexes and sensitivity. Normally, you use Chi Sao to develop sensitivity. For example, if we were rolling, this is Chi Sao. He's trying to stop a solid hit to the chest with either a Fuk Sao or a Bong Sao, where I'm trying to come in. So his point is to stop a solid hit. Now, when I put a knife in my hand, a solid hit isn't the only thing he's got to stop, because all this knife has to do is just graze. So his reflexes, his sensitivity, and his timing have to be just that much more acute. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this knife drill, and you watch the reflexes Mark has to use. Good. Now what he's doing there is he's stopping the knife from cutting him. I'm trying to thrust at the neck, I'm circling to the stomach, I'm trying to thrust back at the neck again. I'm going to go another round. I want you to go a little bit slower this round. I want you to see what we're actually doing here. Right at this point, I'm going for his throat. Now I'm trying to cut the stomach. He's preventing me from cutting the stomach with sensitivity until he gets here to the eye shot. Then I'm trying to come back in again. He doesn't know if I'm going to go here, or if I'm going to go down, or if I'm going to come back here or around here. So his reflexes have to compensate for the speed of this knife. Our next attribute is going to be about power. Now, power is the ability to use your strength quickly. And quickly means that the opponent is moving. If you're focusing on an inanimate object, that has nothing to do with power. Breaking bricks, boards, chopsticks to the throat, tongue push-ups, that has nothing to do with power. I have very little patience for that. Power is a boxer, a Thai boxer. You want to find power, glove up and get in with somebody. But breaking boards and breaking bricks, well, that's not it. That's got nothing to do with the actuality of functional power. So what I want you to keep in mind are the important points. And the important points of power, the people that get power, the boxers, the Thai boxers, are very simple, because it's the same as sports. Number one, they have body torque. Number two, they have intensity. Number three, they have body mechanics. They don't need to yell, they don't need to scream, they don't need to ki-eye, they don't need a belt. They just, boom, have an athletic ability about them. They move, they hit. That's what power is all about. So let's take you to the gym, we'll explain it a little bit more, and check out some of the ways that you can get a little bit better power. Yeah. In talking about power, I want you to remember 4 things. You have accurate timing, correct placement, mental application, and body mechanics. Accurate timing is you're timing the opponent when he's coming in at you, like 2 cars hitting head on. Correct placement is that you're hitting solid, you're not grazing off the skin. And mental application is the juice you put from your brain into your punch. And then you have body mechanics. Body mechanics we get from the weaponry. Whether it be a stick in your hand or a knife or empty hand, regardless, you have to torque your body to make it work. After you put down the weapon, that same body torque or body mechanics goes into the empty hands. So what I'd like you to do is watch the movement and key in on the legs. That's the most important thing. I'm just going to play around. We don't always go as hard as we can go. You jab light and you cross, and then you eventually put some more power into it. Keep an eye on the legs. You don't hit with just your arms. You hit with your legs. You hit with your whole body. Watch the footwork and watch the body hitting. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about power and kicking. Some of the most powerful kickers are Thai boxers, and the mentality they use is when they go for their kick, they go all out. In other words, there's no psychic hindrances. They don't go halfway and then determine what they're going to do then. They go for it. One of the other things they do is they go through their target. They don't see the front of the target, they see behind it, and they use full torque. We borrowed some of the mentalities from Thai boxing when we kick. I want you to look at the movement and the body torque and the twisting of the waist. Just going to do some Thai low kicks. Now our last attribute deals with proper mental attitude. What we mean by proper mental attitude is the ability to be intense in a fight and also to be relaxed. And this intensity and relaxation has to fluctuate according to the range you're in. When you're in long range, you're moving, you're sticking, you're stop hitting, you're in your preliminary analysis of the fight. It's your first few seconds. You don't know this guy. It does you no good to be a screaming, raging banshee out in that range. That's the killer instinct in the wrong range. That's the person that's going to get himself stop hit. Now when you come into closer range, when you're into trapping range, close enough to where you can headbutt him, he can headbutt you, you can elbow him, vice versa, that's the range that you need killer instinct. That's when it's got to click on. And when it clicks on, it's got to go all the way. Like a rag doll, you have no mentality. There is no you. There's only him. If you're worried about yourself getting hurt, you're in the wrong frame of mind. That's not the proper mental attitude. So you have to have control to a degree and then complete abandon. And this control and abandon is, as Carlos Castaneda would say, the warrior's way. And the warrior's way is the proper mental attitude. Now when we talk about proper mental attitude, we're talking about it on the physical front. But as Dan Inosanto has stated before, that's only the tip of the iceberg. The street fighting is only the tip. That's what most people see. The mass of the iceberg is underneath the water. This is what you don't see. The things you get out of martial art that I regard as much more important than the street fighting. The mental, the emotional, then finally building your way up to the spiritual. But what's nice about starting at the physical door is it doesn't tend to be hypocritical. You start out building a nice foundation. You're impeccable in everything you do on the physical front. Every jab you throw, every move you make, every time you hit the heavy bag, you do it like it's the very last time you're ever going to do it. And when you develop those habit patterns, they tend to transfer over to the mental, to the emotional, and then finally to the spiritual. So what we're trying to do is achieve the spiritual, and our particular path is through the physical. There's many paths to do it. That's just the one we chose.